All glories to Gurudeva and all glories to Swami P.P. Puri Maharaj for giving this wonderful treasure in the form of a book called Art of Sadhana. Today we will cover the chapter 7, the Guru and Initiation. Last week we covered the chapter on taking shelter of Krishna. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma chushaha. So Lord Krishna says, abandon all varieties of religions. So he says, this world is full of these kind of religions which are actually to be thrown out. Cheating religions. And just surrender unto me. I will deliver you from all your sins and sinful reactions. Do not fear. But the question is, yes, I want to take shelter of Krishna. Yes, I want to be delivered. And yes, all my sins should get destroyed. But how should I do that? What is the practical approach? For that, Krishna gives details in various sastras, such as Bhagavad Gita. Here is the process that Lord Krishna describes to us. He says that to surrender to him, one has to surrender to a guru. Tatvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevayam upadekshanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshina. Actually, to surrender unto me, you must approach a spiritual master. You cannot come directly to me. So inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. These are the two words here. So first of all, you have to surrender and serve. This is basically the whole philosophy. That's all it is. So this is the first step. That is to surrender to a spiritual master. This is the very subject matter of today's class. So we should approach and surrender to his representative called Guru. Lord Krishna also says that his representative is as good as himself. It is like an ambassador, empowered to act on behalf of a government. He even says that all the demigods are situated in Sri Guru as well. Acharyam mam vinyaniyan navamanyeta karhichit nahamardya budhya sudeta sarvadeva mayo guru. See, Guru is sarvadeva mayo. So he says, this is actually from Srimad Bhagavatam. So Lord Krishna says, one should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not have envy on him. One should not think Guru as an ordinary man, for he is the representative of me and all the demigods are in him. So all the 33 crores of demigods are actually situated in the body of Sri Guru. I have seen in my Gurudev's body. Actually, this is actually something amazing. I could not believe. Then when I really later realized this particular sloka, then only it really made sense. Yes, this is the power that Krishna gives. Krishna empowers him. But only very few souls understand this and approach a guru because they are ignorant and unfortunate. They continue wandering through so many universes by universes. For what? Srila Prabhupada says it very nicely. He is very frankly, he will say that. Because he says 3 statements for any question. That is it. You can't really ask anymore. He says their only business is to wander in every Brahmanda and pass stools in every one of them. They think that their passing stool is the greatest enjoyment to relish. This is their ignorance. But rarely a very fortunate soul, by the grace of Krishna, comes into contact with a guru. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhakyavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasade Paya, Bhakti Lata Bija. We have seen this sloka many times. So according to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. How? In ignorance. Brahmide. Brahmide means, ignorance. Illusion. But out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with the bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. How? Through the Paramatma. He is the Chaitya Guru. As soon as some soul is awakened, and the Paramatma comes and then gives the contact. It's not in our control. We cannot do it. He does that. And everyone else is just wandering in every universe with ignorance, in illusion, Brahmite, to enjoy the great bliss as they think of passing stools, thinking that that is their ultimate pleasure. But how many realizes their own foolishness? There are so many. Many even do not believe in God. Forget about getting a guru. They say no God. So enjoy. Now stop worrying and enjoy your life. And even some say impeach God. And so on. Why? It is their ignorance and ego. The Shastras call them the most unfortunate, ignorant and fools. Their ego will not allow them to believe in Krishna, Vaishnavas, or power of prasadam, and so on. So we have the verse, Maha Prasade Govinde, Nama Brahmani Vaishnave, Swalpa Punya Vatam Rajan, Viswaso Naiva Jayate. We sing almost, whenever we have the program together, we sing that. But we may not be really having the full meaning always in our head. It means those who have accumulated probably hardly any Sukriti, Sukriti means Punya, or no Sukriti at all, will not have faith in Krishna, or in Mahaprasad, or in the holy name, or in Vaishnavas. Now a question comes, why don't they surrender? Shastras give the answer for that as well. Yavat papai tumalinam hridayam tavatyevahi na sasre satya buddhikshyat sadbuddhi sadgurau dada. This is from Brahma Vivarta Purana. See, this is the problem. The problem is, as long as one's heart is contaminated by sin, he will not see the truth given in the scriptures. In other words, he will not develop faith in spiritual life, nor will he recognize the divine authority of the spiritual master. So instead of approaching a spiritual master, he takes gifts to the misleader or cheater, the blind. A blind follows another blind. So the Shastra says that if the heart is sinful with ego is the number one problem. Pride, cheating, hatred, miserly. This is another problem, because Bible says, even a camel can be really put through through a needle of the eye of the needle, but a miserly person can never make it to heaven. Addiction, fighting, evil thoughts, and so many. Once actually a lady came to a Swamiji that I know. She said that she saw Krishna in her dream and wanted to take Diksha. So Swamiji said he would be glad to give, and he told about the 4 principles. Swamiji also said that she must give up onion, garlic, coffee and tea, and so on. Then there was no trace of her afterwards. After a few months, another disciple of the Swamiji saw her in the market, and he was curious. Oh Mataji, have you given up all your addictions as Swamiji was actually mentioning to you? She replied, well, yes, I gave up something. Because I cannot give up my coffee and tea, I gave up Swamiji. That was easier to give up. So you may know that when Srila Prabhupada was a Grahastha, his wife was actually addicted coffee drinker. And where the Srila Prabhupada translated Srimad Bhagavatam, piles of piles. And you know what she did? without knowing, without letting Sri Prabhupada know, she took all the papers, all the translated papers, and sold it to the local guys. Remember in India, they will buy the used papers, old newspapers and everything, so that they will give that to the shops, old shops. They will use it for wrapping the things. So she sold it, and Prabhupada left her. Who will surrender to Krishna? Yesham tvanda gatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva mohe nirmukta bhajante mam tritavrataha. Bhagavad Gita clearly says that persons who have acted piously in previous lives and maybe in this life, and whose sinful actions are eradicated and freed from delusion, Brahmite, illusion, and they engage themselves in they will engage themselves in my service with determination. So this is what Bhagavad Gita says. So many people in this world are totally in confusion. Even what is the real purpose of our human body? For that Shastra says, Durlabha manusho deho dehi nam kshana bangura tatrapi durlabham manye vaikunda priyadarshanam ata atyandikam kshemam prihchamo bhavato nagaha samsare asmin kshanartopi satsanga sevadir nirnam. This human body is most difficult to achieve, very difficult, and it can be lost at any moment, like a bubble bursting. But those who have achieved human life rarely gain the association of pure devotees who are dear to the Lord. After all, even a half a moment of association with pure devotee is a priceless treasure for anyone. Our life is like a bubble that I really mentioned, that came here temporarily and will burst one day for sure, and it will be gone. It won't be anymore there. It says that Vaishnava association should be the goal. That leads to accepting a guru. So now the topic comes in saying that the initiation is really absolutely necessary or not. Because some fortunate souls actually get convinced that yes, we should not waste our human life. Not like Nastikas. There are so many souls. They really see, yeah, that's the thing. But they are really lost in the job and being workaholic and this and that. They just simply forget. So yes, there are people who are really convinced, but they don't know the next step. So for that, the scriptures points us to go in the right direction. It is about taking initiation. As I mentioned, that is the very purpose of this particular chapter. Dvijanam anupetanam swakarmadhyayanadishu yetadikaro nasiha swachopanayanadanu tatratradikshita tu mandra devarchanadishu nadikarosi atyaskuryat atmanam shivasam sudam. This is from Haribhakti Vilasa. Just as one born in a Brahmin family who has not received the sacred thread is ineligible for the performance of Vedic rituals or study of Vedic literature, a person who has not received Vaishnava initiations has no authority to chant the mantra or to worship the deity from the Lord. Deity of the Lord. Therefore, one should take initiation, by which he will become praised by even Lord Shiva. That's what this says. Shivasham Sudam. So the Shiva, Lord Shiva will what? Stuti. So he is really praising. He is even giving his pranams. One who has really taken initiation in the Vaishnava. That's why he is saying that. Lord Shiva says that, what? Aradhanam, the Aradhanam, all the kinds of worship. What is actually Paramam? Vishnu Aradhanam Param. Worship of Vishnu is the topmost worship. But even more than that is what? Worship of the devotees of Lord Hari. This is what Lord Shiva says. And so it is a spiritual initiation that makes a person twice born. Twice born. It is a second birth. Like, for example, a bird. A bird actually goes through to two births. Okay, so that's what's called Tuija. Tui means two. Tuijatvam. So Tui. It's second birth because the bird first lays the egg. That is the first birth. Then the egg, from the egg, hatches the bird. That's the second birth. Like that, for us, we are born from the father and mother. That's the first birth. That has very little use anyway. So, that's nothing. But then the second birth is a real birth, which is called spiritual birth. So the spiritual body, when one gets initiation, slowly the spiritual body grows. Slowly, not like, okay, I got initiated, I got a spiritual body. It doesn't work like that. It is basically the seed is given, then the seed grows with the nurture of Guru, and eventually the body becomes spiritual. So now this sloka is taking, how does this second birth happens? Yata kanchanatam yati kamshayam rasa vidanata tada diksha vidanena twijatvam jayate nrinam. This is also from Hari Bhakti Vilasa. Just as a bell metal turns into gold when touched by the special mercury rasayana. There was a rasayana, it's described in the Vedas, which can, now nobody knows. Nobody knows how to make it. So it is supposed to, when you really take the bell, the bell metal and then touch with, put the rasayana, it becomes gold. So like that, when the initiation is touched, basically the Guru is actually initiating you. Because of the touch, you are becoming, right? Like the bell metal turns into gold, you are getting the spiritual body. The spiritual body slowly develops, slowly. So, yes, a person becomes twice born, Twija, through the process of initiation. So, the person is reborn. This birth is called spiritual birth. Now, but what is the harm in not taking initiation? I don't know what to take initiation. Animals don't take initiation. Why should I? That's exactly what the Shastra is also talking. So the Shastras condemn such a life as human life is meant only for spiritual endeavor. Adikshitasya vamoru kritam sarvam nirartakam pashuyonim vapnoti diksha virahito jana. Again Hari Bhakti Vilasa. Everything done by an uninitiated person is meaningless, useless. One who is not initiated will be reborn as an animal. Because why? Because God has given this human body, because of the reason is you go and then get initiated and then get into the spiritual birth and then get back to me. But if you are like animal, you did not take care of, to make use of that, why should he really give another human body? It is wasting the visa. Why should he really give another H1 visa? It's not necessary, right? So he will, all right, go. There you go, animal again. So the Shastras point about the danger of not taking initiation. So in addition to living an animalistic life in this birth, he is also going to become born as an animal in the next birth. So initiation is a must to enter into the devotional life. People do not understand. They are so ignorant, so foolish actually. So here is even more about not taking initiation. So this is from again Hari Bhakti Vilasa. Te nara pachavo loke kim tesham jivane palam yeirna labda hare diksha narjito va janardana. Those human beings who have not been initiated into the service of Lord Hari and have never worshipped Hari are comparable to animals. See, look, na labda hare diksha, narchito va janardana. So one who is not initiated to worship Janardana is what? Te narak pashavo loke. In this loka, when we are born, they are living like nara pasho. Because they are living as a human, but they are pashavo. Pashavo means animal. So they'll be born in Indra. So the initiation is a must to enter into the spiritual life. Otherwise, it is only animalistic life, but also born as an animal in the next birth. We all know that Gita says that if anyone eats anything, even vegetarian food, without first offering to the deity, actually incurs sin. There is sin involved. Probably it's little compared to eating meat or all kinds of nonsense. This is actually what? You are not, because the pain index. Right? So the pain of killing, pain of killing a vegetable is minute, very, very minute. But then the bird is more. Because I wrote a essay on that in the book, our own temple book anyway. So you can refer there. So the pain index is related to basically the suffering. That's why we should not kill any animals or birds or whatever. But the vegetables, vegetation have very little, because there's no nervous development. So the pain is related to the nervous development. So more developed the nervous system is, the more painful. That is what we should not really harm them. Okay, so here anyway, Gita said that even if one eats vegetable food without first offering to the deity, of course, Krishna is not going to come just like that. You have to worship through the deity. So incur sin. This means one must have an installed deity. But many people, they really grab something, some deity somewhere, thinking that is Krishna and then offer. No, that is not actually deity at all. Anyway, so what Gita says is that one must have an installed deity, but for the deity worship, one needs to be initiated first. So this is the problem now. So in this regard, all the uninitiated people, doesn't matter what they do, because the thing is, if you are not initiated, you are actually incurring sin only. And whatever you are eating, even if you are trying to offer to the deity, because it's not installed, it's no good again. So that means uninitiated people only incur sins all the time. Someone may even say, I am not comfortable in surrendering to a guru. But can I grab a set of deities and start worshipping? This is what so many people called religious, the religious people do. But this is not allowed as per the scriptures, like for example, Pancharatra. Vina diksham hi pujayam nadikaro asti karhichit. It says that to perform deity worship, pujayam, following condition must be satisfied. Number one, must be Diksha initiated, at least Gopal Mantra. At least. Otherwise you are not. No, you are only having Harinam. I don't know how many of people even don't take even Harinam. They can only chant. Giving a picture or something, but the thing is they cannot really do deity service. It's not possible. By Harinam, deity service is not possible. You have to have a Diksha. That's exactly what it's saying. Vina Diksham hi pujayam. So Vina Diksham hi pujayam. If you are doing without Diksha, getting all the 8 or 9 mantras, you cannot do puja. No, it's not possible. Krishna is not going to accept. So, must be Diksha initiated. And second, the deity must be installed using proper mantras and rituals. Otherwise, it's not deity. It's just an idol. It's like a picture. That's it. It's not a deity worship. So, also it is a convention that the initiating guru install the deities. For example, our deity is installed by our Gurudev. And when your guru installs your deity, never install with somebody else. That is Vaishnava aparat. So many things are there. Anyway, so we will actually talk about that as actually, there are going to be classes, etc. Now, this is an amazing relation that these men mentioned between the Lord and his initiated devotees. So one who is not initiated may be offering so many things to Krishna, but Lord Krishna does not even look at it. Forget about accepting. If one is not initiated, I am telling again, if one is not initiated and he may be offering so many things, big feast, big festivals, Lord Krishna does not even look at it. He does not want anything offered by an uninitiated devotee. Duryodhana wanted to offer a grand feast to Krishna, but Krishna did not even see those. He simply refused to eat anything. Not even a single drop of water he really took from there. He said he was not hungry at all. But see, this is what the thing is. This particular sloka is saying, Bhaktera Travya Prabhu Kari Kari Kaya Abhaktera, mean non-devotee, Travya Prabhu Ulatin Nachaya. So Bhaktera Travya means whatever you are offerings. Bhaktera Travya. So you are actually offering, because you are initiated. Prabhu Kari Kari Kaya, he will accept it. But Abhaktera Travya, whatever that you really are, uninitiated devotee, it's not devotee, uninitiated, it's called animal. He's trying to offer Travya, Prabhu Ulati Nachaya. He won't even look at. But here Krishna, I was talking about Duryodhana, same thing. So he did not eat anything. He did not even take water there. Okay, he said, I am not hungry. And then, in the next very moment, he went to the home of Vidura and demanded food. Oh Vidurani, oh Vidurani, I am hungry. Where did the hunger come at that time? Because of the devotion. As soon as Lord sees your devotion, that you are initiated, you are actually having a deity worship properly done, and you are going through, he will be very happy. So he went to Vidura and demanded food. I am hungry, give me some food. He knocked on the door at the door of poor Vidura and said he was hungry. There he ate. What did he eat? Anyway, that's another story. Banana peel. Not even banana. Because Vidurani was really so got into the ecstatic dubbing relation. Oh, Krishna has come to my home. And he was running around to really see something. He even forgot to ask Lord to sit down. So Lord actually took seat by himself. So he forgot. Then he was looking at and finally took some banana here or there and he really peeled the thing and then he was actually directly giving to him for him to eat. So Krishna was eating very nicely. And then after some time Vidura came because Vidura was that time somewhere outside. So he came and he looked what Vidurani was doing. She was feeding the banana peel and whenever he really takes the banana, so he really takes the banana and puts it down, but he feeds the banana because he didn't know what he was doing. He ate banana and then after that Vidura came, then they had a porridge, kanji. Oh, he ate with so much pleasure. That's why it said, Bhaktera Travya Prabhu Kari Kari Kaya, Abhaktera Travya Prabhu Ulati Nachaya. So even if we give mountains of food with so many wonderful rituals, Krishna does not even look at those offered by an uninitiated. At the same time, he snatches food from an initiated devotee. I will talk about that story, some story in the next class. How Chaitanya Mahaprabhu snatched so many things from Sridhar. Think about how Dwaraka Krishna snatched the poha bundle from Sudama. Sudama did not because he saw the opulence. And whatever that little small things, daddy cloth, right? Daddy cloth and some poha, just a little bit. How could he really give this one to Krishna? My God, he got so ashamed. So he was really hiding. But what did Krishna do? Oh, Sudama, you have brought something for me. Give it to me. He said, no. He was running around. No, I am not going to give it to you. No, give it to me. And finally, after chasing, he snatched it and then he himself was it. This is the relation between an initiated devotee and the Lord. So one must have a formal initiation. So the bottom line is that one should have a spiritual master and must be formally initiated with Vaishnava mantra. Ato gurum pranam yaivam sarvasvam vinivedyacham grihniyad Vaishnavam mantram diksha purvam vidanata. Therefore, everyone should surrender to a bona fide spiritual master. And after offering him everything, that means everything means what? One's body, mind and words. In fact, everything, whatever that you can think of. And should take the Vishnu mantra from him according to the appropriate rites and initiation. Rites of, how the initiation is done. There are, this ritual is not ordinary. It's very special because so many mantras are involved. And this is another powerful statement now. At the time of initiation, when a devotee fully surrenders unto the service of the Lord, Krishna accepts him to be as good as himself. See, this is so powerful. Diksha kale bhakta kare atma samarpana. Seyi kale Krishna tare kare atma sama. Seyi deha kare tara chittanandamaya. Aprakrita dehe tanra charana bhajaya. When the devotee's body is thus transformed into spiritual existence, that's what I was talking. The devotee in that transcendental body renders service to the lotus feet of the Lord. And he considers himself as, the initiator as himself. Now the next one comes in the chapter is performing Guru Seva. The disciple should then serve the Guru to please him. When disciples serving Guru ask questions, when the disciples, because when he's asking questions, because he has to ask a lot of questions. As I really put in that sloka, pari prasnena means proper inquiries. Then the Guru will reveal the truths and the inner secrets that are hidden in the scriptures. So serving one's Guru is very important, extremely important. You cannot just like that, get some initiation and then run away. Guru runs away there, you run away here. That is not the initiation. That is cheating. You have to have association closely and serve the Guru. Because that is what gives us the lotus feet of Krishna. Look at here, even Krishna and Balaram, they are serving the lotus feet of his Guru. They are all, who are they? They are Supreme Lords. Supreme Lord. So Prabhu kahe Vaishnava Seva, Nama Sankirtana, Duikara Sigra Pabe, Sri Krishna Charana. There are only two things in this life that we need. Prabhu kahe, Prabhu told. Who is that Prabhu? Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told. What are that? You should serve the servants of Krishna and always chant the holy names of Sri Krishna. Oh, you may say, okay, I will do one day. Only one. I will chant. I won't really serve my Guru. It's not complete. These are the two things you have to do. If you do, that's what it's saying. Duikara, you have to do both of them. If you do these two things, you will very soon attain shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. In fact, I'm going to tell a quick story about the Aruni. Aruni was a disciple of Daumya Rishi, where he studied along with many others. Once there was a lot of rain in the area. The whole area was filled with water. Daumya Rishi was worried about the paddy fields little far, which was situated a little far, as he knew that the plants might be destroyed. So he asked Aruni to visit the fields to check if everything was all right. He asked him to close the dam from flooding into the fields. Aruni as a small boy. He he went to the fields and saw, oh, it was exactly the same way as his guru was telling. Yes, so the dam actually got broken. There was a broken wall. And from there, it was really coming into the fields. And Aruni tried to stop by putting muds and everything. But what happened? Because of the force, it was all getting taken away. The thing, he could not stop. And as a little boy, he could not succeed even after many efforts. So what did he do? He said, I am going to give my body to my Guru. That is it. That's what it is, right? I have given my body to Guru. So whatever Guru said, I have to do it now. He put his body straight into the place where the thing was overflowing, like that. There you go. And the water stopped. But now there is a problem. If he gets up, then the water will be flowing again. So what did he do? He was lying there in that position throughout the night. Only in the very early mornings, Brahma Muhurta, time for Arati, Daumya Rishi noticed that Aruni was missing. So then he said, oh, in the early morning, then he really took a flame of some, and then he really tried, then he really just went along with a few more disciples. And he went to the field and then he saw Aruni was lying on the ground to stop the flow of water from the dam. Daumya Rishi was filled with emotion when he saw what his disciple did. He took hold of Aruni and hugged him tightly and blessed him. It is said that without studying anything, Aruni received all the knowledge. As later he was named as Sage Aruni and became a very important and scholar, Vedic scholar related to the Upanishads. So this is the situation. So this chapter goes more into details about Guru. Because I'll tell you, this chapter is so big. I'm trying to bring something, whatever, that is relevant. What is the meaning of Guru? So this sloka says, what is the meaning of Guru? Kusabtaswanda karasya rusabdastan nivaraka andakara nirodhidvat guru ritya vidiyate. This is from Skanda Purana. The word Guru has two syllables, Gu and Ru. Gu means one who can destroy. Destroy what? The darkness. Ru means darkness or ignorance. So a Guru destroys our ignorance, the darkness, and by bringing the light of wisdom, knowledge and truth. So a Guru is the one who opens our eyes, blinded by darkness of ignorance. So far, we had been talking about the need of a Guru and so on. But what about how will you know that who is a bona fide spiritual master? For that, Chaitanya Charitamrita says nicely, Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Sutra Kere Naya Yehi Krishna Tattva Veta Sehi Guru Haya. Whether one is a Brahmana, a sannyasi or a Sutra, regardless of what he is, he can become a spiritual master if he knows, that's the thing, if he knows the science of Krishna. If he knows that Krishna is an avatar, he's not even a spiritual master. Because he doesn't know the truth even. So the caste or birth is not a factor. What is the most important thing here? He should know Krishna. He must have realized Krishna. He must have a connection to Krishna. And that is all it matters. And who is a qualified Guru? Who is a real qualified Guru? And here comes the sloka that tells three basic qualifications of a Guru. Kanaka Kamini Pradishta Bhagini Chadiya Cheyare Sehita Vaishnavam Sehi Anasakta Sehi Suddha Bhakta Sansara Tada Paya Parabhava. One who has been abandoned by the tigers of money because he is not attracted by money. You give billions or trillions of dollars, he is totally unshaken. For him, it is a piece of just something, paper or whatever. No, it has no value for him. Beautiful woman, he does not have anything related to any woman. and fame. No, he does not want him to be honored at all. He is a Vaishnava. Such a soul alone is a pure devotee and Guru. Maya is defeated before him. We are going to see another slide about this one specifically. So Kanaka means he is not attracted by any amount of money. And Kamini, no attraction to any of the beautiful women or nothing can really shake him. Nothing. And third one is what? That is the biggest one, Pratishta. This is very difficult to read. It's not that everyone in this world that you can actually find that. They are really fond of fame. That is why they are going all over the place for accumulating what? People. But what exactly Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says? Na janam na janam. That janam is disciples. We should not anger for having any disciples actually. If they come, then you got to help. That's the only business that you can do. So now, who makes a guru? Actually, guru actually is not made. Guru manifests by the will of the Lord. He is not appointed. It is not like after me, so and so is going to be the guru. It doesn't work like that. For example, our Srila Prabhupada did not appoint anyone. And our Gurudev did not appoint anyone. But it's not by something really you can vote. So in this world, guru business is very big thing. One can become very rich and famous by becoming a guru. But he's not guru. He's a guru, a cheater. By voting, one cannot make a donkey into a cow. So it is not possible. By voting, one can make a guru. This is another amazing thing that is really coming here is the relation, the intimate relation between Krishna and his pure devotees. Bhakta ahama preme bandi yache hridaye bitare yaha nitra pade tahan dekaye amare. My pure devotees bind me in their heart. My pure devotee binds me in his heart with the rope. How? The ropes of prema. I have no way of escaping. And sees only me wherever he looks. Wherever he looks. So a pure devotee cannot forget Krishna even for a moment. And similarly, Krishna also cannot forget his pure devotee even for a moment. This is how their relation is, a strong relation is. But only very few actually get convinced that he should even accept a guru and initiated. Those are very few. Those are the fortunate ones. The scriptures advise us how to approach a spiritual master. Tat Vinyanartham Sagurum Yeva Bigachet Samit Pani Sro Trityam Brahmanishtam. Here the word Samit means gift. So one must humbly approach with gift in hand, going to a spiritual master. Samit means gifts. Here actually literally means firewood actually. It was a tradition in the Vedic times to carry firewoods to see the Guru. We should never go empty-handed to see two kinds of people. Going to see Guru, you should never go empty-handed. And also to see a deity, a temple. You should always give something. Now, in this, there are three elements we have to follow when approaching a spiritual master. By giving obeisances and by humbly submitting inquiries. You cannot really ask questions in a challenging mood. You will be the loser. And third, by performing service. And giving obeisance. There are ways to do pranama to Guru. A Guru is a representative of Krishna. So one should offer pranams to such a Guru. There are two types of pranamas. Shashtanga pranama means surrendering with 8 angas of our body. 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 knees, chest, head, eyes, mind and words. That's exactly what the first sloka is talking about. Then Panchanga pranama. are with 5 parts obeisance. What are the knees, the arms, head, and the words and intelligence. Now, accepting a guru and getting initiation is a big step for spiritual life. However, just accepting initiation is not the end of the thing. He should humbly ask relevant questions in a humble mood, not in a challenging mood, as I said, which ruins everything. And the guru will not give the sacred knowledge, he will simply ignore you. You will be the loser, not the guru. So in front of guru, you are a fool. You have to have that particular attitude. In front of a guru, a disciple is a fool. Okay? So what kind of question should one ask? What about economics? Politics? Coronavirus? Or this one other? What should we ask? Ke ami? Kene amaya? Jare tapatraya? Iha nahi jani? Ke mane kitta haya? Ke ami? Who am I? Kene amaya? Why do the 3 miseries always give me trouble? What should I do so that I can be benefited? This is how we should ask the question. Not economics, not your how much GPA you are actually doing, how well you are doing in all kinds of things, how you are actually internationally you are getting all kinds of award. That has no value. It's a piece of mud. That's all it is. So this is called pariprasna. Pariprasna means submitting and asking relevant questions. Proper inquiry. Pariprasna means proper inquiry. A guru possesses 3 kinds of knowledge. Sambandha, that means relation between Jiva and God. And Prayojana, what is the goal of our life to achieve. And then Abhidaya is a sadhana, the spiritual activity. So Sambandha, Abhidaya, and you get the Prayojana. Now comes another important element regarding a disciple and a guru. One may accept a guru, but that's not enough. Important requirement is to have full unshakable faith in guru. Without this shraddha or faith, one simply cannot advance in spiritual life. Yasya deve parabhaktir yahda deve tada gurau tasyaite kadita hyarta prakashande mahatmana. So, only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master, who is his manifestation and non-different from him, or all the imports of all the spiritual knowledge is automatically revealed. So, no truth gets revealed unless a faith in Guru is established. Only the Guru has the key to the divine truths. We may think that without Guru we can understand by reading scriptures and know about Krishna, but that's not true. It is not a DIY, do it yourself. Lord Krishna says without surrendering to a Guru, one can never realize the sacred truths which are like treasure locked in a treasure chest. To open the treasure chest, you need the key. That key is with a Guru. When one makes Gurudeva happy by serving with faith and following all he has instructed, one can get that key to open that treasure box. So all the divine knowledge are protected. Okay, it's not like password protected, it is by key protected. It's not like a password or finger mark, but a very secure lock and then the key. When the Guru feels happy, he gives that to you, to a sincere disciple. This may sound bizarre to many people. Shastras say that a pure devotee's body is not material but spiritual. Why? Because the mercy of the Krishna enters into that. This is what the sloka says. Prabhu kahe, Vaishnava deha prakrita kabunaya, aprakrita deha bhaktera chitanandamaya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the body of a devotee is never material. It is considered to be transcendental, full of spiritual bliss. For example, here, I don't have time to really go over all those, but this is Narottam Das Thakur. Because, even though everybody was, seeing that as a material body or something, it's not. So when at the last, when he was about to really leave this world, he simply entered into the Ganges and asked the disciples to really chant the Maha Mantra. Everybody was thinking, and then he said, pour the Ganga water on me. And they were pouring. And his body became dissolved into milk. There's no body. In the samadhi, there is no body. There is a samadhi, but there is a pushpa samadhi. There is no body because he dissolved into milk. This is how. There are so many histories anyway. Now, this is a very important fact about us. Every one of us, every jiva has a unique spiritual form. It is called Siddha Deha. A Siddha Deha has an eternal name, an eternal dressing, and eternal service to the Lord. But how will we know? Only by intense Guru Bhakti, one can realize one's eternal Siddha Deha. When an Acharya leaves the body, they sometimes reveal this truth. For example, our Gurudev is said to be Ramana Manjari, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur is Kamala Manjari, Rupa Goswami Rupa Manjari, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada is Nayana Manjari, Ramananda Prabhu is actually Lalita Devi, and Swarupa Damodar, Vishaka, and so on and so on and so on. All that is their eternal Swarupa. Now, the Shastras say many amazing things about the position of a Guru. Lord Krishna says that an Acharya must be respected as himself. This is the thing. Acharyam mam vinyaniyan navamanyeta karhichit na martya bhutya suyeta sarvadeva mayo Guru. One should know the Acharya as myself. I never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him to be an ordinary man. For he is the representative of all the demigods. This one I really covered that before. Every instruction from Sri Guru is words of God. So Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite te koribo aikya Arana korigo mane acha Sri Guru Charane Rati Ye se utama gati Jai prasade pure sarva asa. So every instruction from Sri Guru is the words of God. Veda, Guru Mukhya Padma Vakya. Sastras, see, the thing is, we should fix our mind on the words emanating from the lotus mouth of spiritual master. And only by his help we can cross the samsara ocean. So, now the thing is, so this one is saying, oh mind, you simply place your hope on Sri Guru and no one else. Affection to the lotus feet of Guru is the ultimate goal. Only by his mercy, everything is realized. It is said that after the war, the Mahabharata war was over, Arjuna forgot all the Gita instructions given by the Lord. Okay, this is about the etiquette. It is said that the reason was that Arjuna was sitting at a higher seat than Krishna, who was acting as a Guru. Also, if you see, if the surrender is not full, Guru is standing low, a disciple is sitting high. He is standing and he is sitting. He is low, that's high. Actually, Lord Krishna must have ordered Arjuna to fight. Instead, he said, Arjuna, I gave all the advices now. Now it is up to you to decide. Your Guru will not say that. What does the Guru will say? The behavior of Guru is not like that. He will order. He will order, you fight. He did not say that. He said it is up to you to decide. See? Because we can see that. Even from the history, Arjuna was really actually so proud that because of him only he thought only because of his power, Pandavas actually won. He was also proud that he could get the Lord to help him as a chariot driver. Look at here, Krishna came to me as a chariot driver, a driver for me. This is pride and ego. When we see that, oh, I got a dream of Krishna, Radha Krishna, we get pride. Finish, you are finished there. Krishna had to teach Arjuna lessons in several occasions to curb his pride. So a real etiquette of a disciple is that disciple must take the instructions from Guru as from Krishna. Disciple must think that he is a fool in front of Sri Guru, as I said. Disciple must always sit at a lower position, mostly at the feet. A disciple must, won't even, a disciple won't even sit on the bed of a Guru. Forget about even sleeping there. These kind of disciples are the most fortunate. Like water that flows to a lower level. The mercy from Guru also flows to those humble disciples who are really sitting down. A separate class is being taught by Shamarani about Vaishnava Niti that includes all these things. When Srila Gurudev goes for walking, I have seen many things. No one will walk before Gurudev, not even a step. And disciples sit, because he walked there, disciples sit near the footprints and touching and then putting on their head, and they chant right there. I have seen with my own eyes. They are the most fortunate and humble devotees. Trinatapi Sunichena. Only these kind of disciples should really come and then get real Guru. Otherwise cannot. Other ones cannot. So Maya can be driven only by the mercy of the sadhu. Everyone is talking about Maya. Some so-called gurus, some gurus teach how to control oneself by yogas so that one can escape from Maya. But the fact is that Maya is an energy of Lord Krishna. How can he fight? We cannot conquer. It is impossible. Those who seek the help of yogas and sense control are losers. But whereas, when you have association with the Vaishnava, Maya has no place. He will say, I don't have any job here. Let me get out of here and fly. Mayere kariya jaya. Chadana na jaya. Sadhu kripa vina ara. Nahika upaya. It is impossible to overcome and leave behind Maya without the mercy of sadhus. There is no other way. There is no other way. And Diksha initiation from Sri Guru burns sinful reactions. Divyam jnanam yato datyat kuriyat papasya sankshayam tasmad diksheti sa prokta desikai tattva kovidaha. So the answer comes from the Shastra here. What it's saying? We have accumulated unlimited karmic reactions, and how are we going to get rid of all of them? There is no other way. Except somehow we have to burn them. But how can we burn your own karma? So either you have to receive diksha from a bona fide spiritual master, our sins are getting burned, otherwise we have to be burned in the hell for suffering. So those who are expert in the study of the revealed scriptures consider diksha to be the process which gives one transcendental knowledge and causes the destruction of all sinful reactions. So instead of we want to be burned in hell for the sins, isn't it logical to burn our sins by initiation? Oh mind, shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Guru. Surrendering to a Guru and accepting initiation is a must in our life. Lotus feet of Gurudev is the only shelter.
Palam Adharvindam Samsara Chedanam Sarvamangalam Samsara Chedanam Sarvamangalam Kamala Vimochanam Sambandhamulam Gurudevam Vandam Sharanarvindam Pankajapādam Ādhārvindam Anurakti bhavam adishreyasaram Anurakti bhavam adishreyasaram Abhayam udhata Dayalarupam Gurudevam पङ्कजपादम् आधारविन्दम् आधारविन्दम् गुरुदेवं वन्दं शरणारविन्दं पङ्कजपादम् आधारविन्दम् आधारविन्दम्.
Jai Gurudev. Thank you so much. And now the class summary. So the facts are, taking shelter of Krishna means taking shelter of a Guru. Absolute need of initiation that we saw. Diksha burns all the past sins. Diksha enables deity worship. Shraddha and Guru Seva are very important. So what we should do? Accept a Guru, take initiation, have unshakable faith in Guru, and perform Guru Seva. We all will be successful. Okay? So this week we learned the importance of surrendering to a Guru and accepting initiation. Next week we will go over and learn on duties of an initiated disciple. So see you all next week again. Vanja kalpa taruchecha kripa sindhu evacha paditanam pavanepyo vaishnavepyo namo namah.